Good afternoon, everyone. Please don't stop eating to listen. I'm sure that we can all do more than one thing at one time. But just as before I begin, I want to say how beautiful of a picture me standing here and looking out at you all looks. Not for what you're wearing, but just because it's such a beautiful thing to see so many people take a Saturday where they could be doing anything they want to do and spend their time educating themselves, educating their families, educating their friends, and just sharing with others. It means a lot to me to be in a room full of individuals where I don't feel strange, where I don't feel like people are looking at me for being able to just bend my fingers back and say, ooh, that's gross, why would you do that? But in fact, understanding exactly what that feels like, and it's just simply normal to us. So this is a really good feeling. A few days ago, Jessica asked me to come and speak, and I've spoken in public in the past, but for some reason I decided to look up some helpful hints. And many of the sites I looked at online said you should open with a joke. And I had this joke that I thought was just awesome. And I ran it past my husband, and it was all about a doctor and medicine and generic medicine and biting my nails at the pharmacy, and he said, that's not funny. So I'm going to spare you all and not tell you the joke and just jump right in to the purpose of me being here today. I'm honored to be here to share my story of vascular EDS. My journey began in 1994 when my mother came home from work on a seemingly regular day, and both of her arms were in a downward position like this, and she couldn't move. My father took her to the hospital with my brother and I in tow, and the doctors, of course, ran test after test after test. They couldn't figure out, they were scratching their heads and paging, and one would run in, and then the other one would run in, and nobody knew what was going on, which I'm sure we've all experienced. And I was in the waiting room, and I went over to one of the doctors, and I said, let me show you this neat trick. And I started bending my fingers back. And he said, can your mother do that? I said, sure, she can. You can't? I thought that my father was the only one who couldn't do it. My brother could do it, I could do it, and my mother could do it. So here's this doctor who now he can't do it. So lo and behold, they figured out from just that my mother had vascular Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. In 1997, my brother and I were both tested for Ehlers-Danlos, and it came back positive. My brother suffered a bowel perforation in his early 30s, and again, just in 2016, and unfortunately, he passed away from it at the tender age of 40. My mother, just 10 months shy of my brother passing, also passed away from a bowel perforation. So this just leaves me, half of my family gone, and me living with this horrendous disease and not sure how I can get over this hump of the two of them gone and now me just being afraid to live. Well, when I was 32 years old, I found out that I was pregnant, and I went to the world-renowned Johns Hopkins Hospital, and they told me, oh, you can't carry on with this pregnancy, it's just not gonna work. And I thought about it, and I chose my faith over my fear. And I told them that day that I no longer wanted to discuss this unhealthy pregnancy that they were speaking of, but instead I wanted to discuss nothing but a positive pregnancy. I wanted to do whatever it took to bring my daughter here, and that's exactly what I did. Thank you. Upon my delivery with her, I did suffer a uterine rupture, which landed me in the ICU for 7 days. I was unable to see my daughter until she was 3 days old, and I saw her by way of a picture. But there were doctors there who worked long and hard. There was a doctor who came in my room, and he sat on my bedside, and he said, man, you put us through a lot. And for a doctor at Johns Hopkins to tell me that I put them through a lot, I must have really put them through a lot. But my daughter is actually sitting here. She's 6 years old. Her name is Faith Noel. Now, from that point on, of course, when you lose family members that are very close to you, you find yourself kind of falling into a little depression and overtaken by sadness. And just this past May, I would go every day, I would walk for exercise, just trying to figure out the best way for me to exercise healthy. And I would go for a walk. And I felt myself starting to fall into a deep depression. And something just clicked into my mind, and I felt like I needed to do more than waste energy on being depressed. So I began to look into support groups, and I fell upon the Ehlers-Danlos Society. And I mean, when I tell you guys this changed my life, it changed my life. I was able to find a support group near my area that wasn't far from me for me to go and sit and just be a part. And for once, I finally felt like I belonged. And I decided to also take my energy and go to the best way of reaching the mass of people, social media. And I went to my Facebook page, and every day I posted a feeling, an emotion, a fact, some information to just educate somebody. I found myself educating not only myself, but my family members and even some family doctors. I felt like that if I put the word out there and spread the word to everyone, that our situation, our journey, our task, our hardships would be just as big as cancer. Because we hear so much about cancer, we hear so little about EDS. The only way that we can get the word out is if we spread it ourselves, and it starts with each one of us. We have to educate everyone that we come across, whether they want to hear it or not. Tell them anyway. Tell them over and over again. Eventually they'll say, here she comes, but they know what we're coming for, a purpose. When I found EDS support group for me, and I hope for each one of you, it gives you a reason to carry on. It gives you a reason to help find a cure. And we have to put it out there in order for us to find a cure. My husband always says that there's a blessing and a curse. Well, I think that the blessing for me, even though the EDS may seem like a curse, I feel like the blessing is the EDS, because have you ever heard of paying it forward? Each one of us here today are paying it forward for the next generation. I was elated to see that there are sessions for the teens and for the young group. For those that are here that don't even have EDS, we're paying it forward for the next generation, and hopefully the next generation will have a cure. There's so many things out there, technology that's out there that each one of us contribute to, whether you believe it or not. Just buying a t-shirt, you contribute. Just putting EDS on your Facebook page, you contribute. Just being here on a Saturday when it's really nice outside and finally not raining, you're contributing. And I want you all to applaud yourselves for your contribution. And just as I take my seat, it is my goal, and I hope that it's your goal, to know that if you just touch one person today, tomorrow, or before you leave this beautiful earth, that you have helped someone else, not just yourself, but someone else. Congratulations to each of you for making a difference. Thank you so much for this opportunity. You all have a great day.